From prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. Welcome to a Friday edition of Creature Guide Live News. I will be having random animal articles thrown at me. Some will be funny and some will be more serious. So let's throw up the first article. Okay, so from wildfile.com, mammoth discovery in the Bighorn Basin. I've got a feeling this is supposed to be funny. Just in the title. The latest fossils unearthed in Wyoming's natural trap cave include the skeleton of a mammoth. Well, I would hope so, considering we have found mammoths in this region. This is adjacent to the Bighorn National Forest over in north central Wyoming, and so located in Bighorn County. And in this cave, it dates to somewhere around like 150,000 to 100 to 200,000 years ago during the late Pleistocene epoch, or the later Ice Age period. And so let's see. Right here, researchers surround the fully uncovered mammoth scapula, which is broken in natural trap cave in Wyoming's Bighorn Basin, 2024. Oh, okay. So this is recent. I'm used to just hearing older specimens coming out of this cave, so this is good to hear. It's much more recent. I'm guessing that these are possibly or probably Columbian mammoths, which are much larger than what many are associated with, just the woolly mammoth. And the woolly mammoth probably never touched the state of Wyoming. In fact, most of the lower 48 or the continental United States, they were thriving in different parts of the northern Canada, like the Yukon, possibly the Nunavut territories, maybe even the Northern Territory or the Northern Canadian Arctic Islands, as well as Alaska, Northern Russia, and then Northern, actually, pretty much probably all of Norway, Sweden, Finland, possibly even further south in some instances, depending on the extent of the glaciers. It might have exposed certain parts of the Mammoth Steppe. But anyway, here we're going to be talking about, we're looking at Columbian mammoths. So, woolly mammoths were not much bigger than Asian elephants, so reaching somewhere around 6.5 tons. It's a big bull. And Columbian mammoths could reach over 10.5 tons and could reach somewhere around 13 feet in height, possibly even taller. So they were around the size of T Rex, whereas woolly mammoths, they were much smaller. However, we have found much more intact per se, skin or fur. We found mummies of woolly mammoths. Anyway, it was it was on one of the last days of the 2024 field season that a group of researchers got a hunch that they'd found something unusual at the bottom of an 85-foot cave in northern Wyoming. We'd found a mammoth vertebra, just a centrum. Since 2014, when Mikan and other scientists got the green light to excavate natural trap cave in the Bighorn Basin, they've unearthed the bones of prehistoric mammals, including the American cheetah and short-faced bear. So the technically that's a misused term now. The thing is that the American cheetah, in quote, is technically a bit more like the moose than is a cheetah. It's still closely related to the cheetah, but Americanonyx was very distinct from Achinonyx, which is the name for the genus of cheetah today. And then there's the puma. So, a short-faced bear, this is probably referring to the large individual Arctodus simus, which on all fours was about 6 feet or a little less than 2 meters on all fours and could reach somewhere around 12 feet in height. And also, there's been a lot more research done on the short-faced bear. It looks like the animal was, though it probably did feed on certain species of berries and plants as well. So, as the name implies, the cave acted as a deadly trap for animals traveling the plains, unaware of the pit until it was too late. There are fossils dating from 20,000 years ago. Oh, okay. So, this is from a much younger part of the Pleistocene, like within the last 10,000 years, if this is true, are often found in good condition since the cave's cool and humid conditions act as a refrigerator. It's also good to mention that the Ice Age at this point, even when you're looking at the continental United States, was a bit more humid than it was or than it is in certain parts today, especially where the Great Plains is now. It is not suitable. Like if you look at a healthy Great Plains ecosystem today, it is not suitable for the megafauna or the large Pleistocene mammals that existed back then. So let's see. But mammoth bones aren't common in the cave. They're not really running animals. They probably would have known the cave was there. They kind of looked to where their feet go. Um, yeah, it's a big question, I think, as to how fast Colombian mammoths could travel. I would think they could still be capable of running at, 11 to 12 miles per hour. Bull elephant today, bush elephant, so 7.5 ton individual can probably run up to 25 miles per hour. Short distance though. So it was all the more delight on one of the first days of the 2025 season when Mike and his team began to uncover most of the mammoth's cervical vertebrae, some of the thoracic vertebrae, some ribs, and most of the scapula. So, like the shoulder blade. Wonder for thoracic, yeah. This is a pretty amazing find. Then came the logistics. We all kind of were like, "What are we going to do about this?" Because the mammoth is a giant thing. Uh, we s-
That's funny.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, there are certain sites where they just simply leave the mammoths. They clean them, they clean the specimen up a bit, but they just leave it intact with the site.
I know, but for them to say it's a giant thing, it's like, well, yeah.
Yeah. Um, and yes, Colombian mammoths probably had larger ears than the woolly mammoths did, but also, um, probably would have gone for or it would have been the same for most of the mammoth family, because most of them did not inhabit the extremely cold regions. Researchers, Sierra, okay, these three are pictured with an American lion, Radius, and Ulna in Natural Trap Cave in 2025. Wow. Huh. So let's see. Um, Anybody else? Nope, that's it. Okay, well, it's good that we're hearing about Colombian mammoth and American lion. Supposedly, they're also digging up the relative of today's cougar and cheetah, like American onyx, as well as Arctotus simus in the cave. But technically, they were only reporting, or they showed American lion, Panthera atrox. This animal could reach somewhere around 800 to 900 pounds, or somewhere around 400 kilograms, and roamed much of the American West. So this animal was probably feeding on different species of larger camels at the time, which we did have camels back in the Pleistocene just 20,000 years ago in North America. Different species of horses, younger mammoths. It's a big question, though, as to whether or not Panthera atrox would have hunted in prides. Um, since it is more likely for it to have, considering it's just simply another species of Panthera. Now, technically, Panthera tigris, the tiger today, doesn't hunt in pride, so that's not really a good theory. So I was just saying it's more likely for it to have hunted in packs than Smilodon fatalis, the famous saber-toothed cat, which did exist at this time as well. But it's more common in places such as California. Oh, let's throw up the next article. Big guess as to whether Panthera atrox had a mane too. Okay, moving forward from the denverpost.com. Colorado's Wolves. Oh no. Wait, no. Return to home page. Uh Oops. The thing on the side. I don't think it allows us to do it. That's annoying. Um okay. Did we already do this one?
I think it was a different one.
Let's see. Yeah, I think we already did this.
Okay.
Mentioning Tool River. Yeah, there have also. Oh, okay. Well, let's see what happened.
Yeah, remember, he doesn't pick these. I go by and find them just to see what I think is funny looking.
So here we have the coastalreview.org. So biologists heartened by red wolf program's recent successes. You've had success with these guys? Okay, let's see what happened. Okay. Well, here we have two 6-week old red wolf pups peer out warily in an acclimation pen at Alligator River National Wildlife Refuge prior to their release into the wild with their parents. 2409F. So these are the that's the female, and 2371 male. And this photo. So this was on August 11th. I mean, they look healthy. The reason why I was being doubtful is because most of the red wolves are quite inbred. Maybe they're not. Red wolf populations in northeastern North Carolina are still far from recovered. Yeah, there could be like 30 to 40 of them or less, with like 200 in captivity, but many of them are inbred. But there are optimistic signs that the highly endangered species now has a solid chance. I was thinking you were going to use the term slight. Okay. More wolves are breeding, more pups are surviving, coyote hybridization has been cut, and there are fewer mortalities from vehicle strikes and gunshots.
Whoa. Is it saying I didn't know there was hybridization between the two?
There is. I wasn't so familiar with it, like within the red wolf population. Like at the moment, I know historically, considering over on like Galveston Island in Texas, there's a population of coyotes in the region that have 17% red wolf DNA. So technically, you could say somewhat they are coy wolf mixes. It's just a much smaller percentage of wolf. But
So a wolf looked at the tail and just thought, "You're cute."
yeah, unfortunately. Anyway, um, while still modest, those successes reflect increased. Okay, blah blah blah. It's kind of a small crew. Okay, let's see. Okay, Madison said that only about half of the red wolves roam within half. Oh no, within Alligator River National Wildlife Refuge land. The population, by the way, this is on the northeastern coast of North Carolina. So the population as of August, according to Fish and Wildlife data, totals about 30 red wolves. Ouch! Including 18 collared adults, as well as uncollared juvenile wolves and a few other adults. It's almost like all the adults are collared. It's like the moment that they've reached somewhere between 2 to 3 years old, they collar them. I guess it's not a bad thing. This population roams the designated recovery area, 1.7 million acres of public and private land in Hyde, Tyrrell, Washington, and Beaufort counties. Red wolves have been seen in all 5 counties. It is the only known wild population in the world. Red wolves, yeah, they pretty much inhabited most of the southeastern United. No, let me rephrase that. All of the southeastern United States, even to East Texas, and you can find them in certain areas of Appalachia too. So up into different areas of, let's see, like Eastern Tennessee. Then you have Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, West Virginia, possibly into Ohio, and Kentucky, definitely. Probably not any more further north than that. Pretty much after that was like the Eastern wolf subspecies, but the red wolf is its distinct species. Let's see. So, okay. Um, oh, forgot there were 120 wolves in 2007, so that was dropped. In 2020, there were only about 7 collared wolves. Oh, okay, 7 collared, probably not the whole population. Because I swear I remember further back and there were probably around 40 they were reporting. Still a big guess. Okay, so let's see. Hmm. Uh Scroll down a bit. Just trying to find anything else. Is that pretty much it? Red Wolf Recovery Program also works closely with 52 zoo and wildlife centers across the country as part of the Saving Animals from Extinction or SAFE program, an initiative of the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, which currently cares for 280 captive red wolves. Okay, so there's more than I thought. I guess I forget that they breed. Part of the program's, yeah, well, I forget. Yeah, you're gonna have some.
Sorry, that was just funny.
Well, this has been going on since like the 70s or 80s, and yeah, I forget. They're going to die, and then there has to be pups. Part of the program's goal is to increase the safe population to 400. Well, we haven't seen anything about genetics yet. That's the really important part. Okay, so I'm not gonna get into the whole delisted thing. It's kind of irrelevant. Oh, something about genetic. Hmm. Geesh, how long is this article? What?
I don't read them ahead of time.
Wow. Is this true? The pup survival rate to 1 year is typically about 50%. That's not bad. I'd like it higher, like what we were seeing over in Yellowstone National Park back in the 90s. Like that was a very high, what was it, like somewhere between 65 to 75% survival rate because of like the bountiful amount of food that was there. Low competition. And, of course, over time, it lowered, but still a decent survival rate. Let's see. But after two complete litters, didn't make it in recent years, the recovery team determined that the likely cause was canine distemper. Oh, that's annoying. Let me phrase that. That's irritating. Yes, this has also occurred to. This is specific disease that can come from like different infected dogs and cause a problem for different wolf populations, even lion populations over in Africa. It's also been seen in like the lion population in India. Tigers, it's pretty bad. I think possibly like it can affect like even chimps. But anyway. So this year when these pups were in an acclimation pen and they were 5 weeks old, we went in the pen, recaptured them, and we gave them their first round of vaccines. Also, we implanted them with abdominal transmitters so we would be able to track them after they were released. So far, so good. A family group that was released into the wild in May seems to be thriving. We may go into the season with a great plan. That's it. Okay, so it's still pretty tough out there for the Red Wolves. Yeah, I'll be honest though. I mean, s- it would be nice to see them
No, I want you to lie
rebound.
to us.
I don't care about them. I'm just kidding. No, really, I hope the increase in genetic prosperity and population, and they have plentiful food in the region, so that's not really a problem. Though the habitat, that I wonder if they're having major problems with, because the thing is that they're saying, like, what, more than half of the wolves within that large of an area are outside the region. So I guess I have to double check in the Alligator River National Wildlife Refuge how much of it is actually good quality habitat for the wolves. Because the thing is that I'm making it sound like, how much of it has been disturbed, but you can have it where um, there might be only certain amounts of the protected areas, even historically, that would have been suitable habitat for the wolves. So the question is the Alligator River kind of a joke in terms of like how much available habitat there just naturally is? So I'll have to double check that later. So let's throw up the next article. They also howl much differently than gray wolves. They have a very distinct howl. Okay, so from iflscience.com. First ever Lariosaurus with preserved skin is one of the most complete sea monsters we've ever found. The skin is preserved as a carbon film, revealing the shape of the scales. I'm guessing this is not a plesiosaur. What does this say? Not a pelycosaur or a pelosaur. It's not a nothosaur, I believe. I'm guessing it's like Triassic. It's okay. Sometimes, however, ancient creatures make paleontologists' lives a bit easier by remaining virtually complete for, say, I don't know, 240 million years. Yep, Triassic, around the first 10 million years. A round of applause, please, for Lariosaurus valcarisii. Do. A new paper describes the near perfect specimen that dates back to the Middle Triassic. That's early Triassic. Hmm. It was found in Monte San Giorgio and has preserved skin that reveals the shape of the scales. Fossil skin that is invaluable, like this, is invaluable because, for starters, it's the first time we've ever found soft tissues preserved for this species. What it can tell us that the bones alone couldn't is that this species had webbed hands and feet. Wow. So um, there's evidence for that, which would have helped it to push its way through the water as it swam. Still don't know precisely what family of reptiles this Lariosaurus is a part of. Furthermore, we can see from patches of skin behind the upper arms and along the front of the trunk that it had powerful four-limb retractor muscles. Together, these features suggest that Lariosaurus used its front limbs to swim in a rowing flying motion, a bit like how modern seals use their flippers for rapid bursts of movement. This is an interesting development, as it lends support to the idea that the forelimbs were important as well as other parts of these animals' bodies that had received more attention in the past. Yeah, this distinct reptile family, gosh, I think it's still hasn't mentioned something like a. It's not a pelycosaur, it's something else. The described skin outline of this specimen may provide an insight about the swimming style of Lariosaurus. In Nothosaurs, there we go. Okay, so supposedly, because I'll need to double check. It's a Nothosaurus. This is good to hear. They were a Triassic group of reptiles, mostly feeding on different species of fish, possibly even going after different types of early relatives of modern day squid and nautilus, such as the ammonites. So let's see. Both the forelimbs and the tail were employed for swimming, but the tail was considered the main propulsive organ, providing lateral undulation. However, several authors propose that the strong forelimbs may have played an important role in propulsion, as also supported by studies of long bones histology. The skin outline of the specimen and the inferred pattern of forelimb musculature supports the hypothesis that forelimbs may have played a prominent role in swimming, at least in Lariosaurus. This could set Lariosaurus aside from other swimming prehistoric reptiles like Ceratosaurus, which was another long-necked predator swooshing around the ancient ocean. I haven't seen that word in a while. Just goes to show that different strokes for different folks is a notion that's held true for 240 million years. Okay. Um. Okay. They didn't. Did they show us like the skin? Well, okay. So we can't necessarily see it from this angle on the specimen. I mean, it's a very well preserved specimen, so this is good to see for Lariosaurus. Another Nothosaur. Nothosaurs could reach over 12 feet in length, but they weren't a very large group of reptiles, like I'm referring to size. So let's throw up the next article. It's kind of nice with the Nothosaurs, though. I mean, I've been hearing about other marine reptiles, but they weren't showing up. I was getting actually kind of concerned. Anyway, from rnz.co.nz, female turtle rescued after being tied to a tree in Cuscio mangrove swamp. Where is this? Bangladesh? No, probably not. Turtle rescued on September 4th from Doumbia, New Caledonia. So this is east of Australia. Well, this is good to see. French authorities. Well, that was shocking to see. Oh, wait. No, it's not. Anyway, in New Caledonia are investigating after a sea turtle was found tied to a tree. Now, that is shocking. Why? What on earth? Who would do such a thing? Well, a lot of people. The female turtle was about 25 to 30 years old, bound in rope in the Cuscio mangrove swamp in Dumbaya and rescued on September 14th. Um, that would have had to have happened within less than a few hours of when they rescued her because sea turtles quickly um, just fry or dehydrate under the sun, and also by that time they could simply just be roasted to death. So let's see. Actually, the same goes for many species of turtles. An Aquarium des Lagoons spokesperson said she had deep cuts on her right swim leg from being tied up. Oh, I was literally imagining a tree and somebody. Anyway, that's sad, but glad they got her out. Despite this, she's doing well and is now under the care of the aquarium in Noumea. If she keeps improving, I actually thought they were just going to release her into the ocean. If she keeps improving, she could be released in the next few weeks. Head of the aquariology and maintenance department at the Aquarium des Lagunes told local media that the loggerhead turtle is a protected species, along with the green turtle and the hawksbill turtle. So let's see. Unlike the green turtle, it is not eaten locally. That's what you had to tell us. I was expecting something else, like about the behavior of the animal, or was she on like some certain migration? Well, on the bright side, they're not eaten here. I don't believe that, but okay. Sylvian Govin said there's no doubt that this is poaching. I think the person who grabbed it and tied it up there had an idea in the back of his head: either eat it or sell it to make money. Um, I was thinking that the plastic was just there and the turtle ended up getting trapped. Originally, I also thought that somebody, tied it up to a tree. Um, okay, well, I'm glad she's hopefully she makes a good recovery and ends up siring more turtles. Um, specifically loggerhead turtles. Um, oh, let's throw up the next article. So let's see what we have here. From discoverwildlife.com, exquisite dome-headed dinosaur unearthed in Mongolian desert is oldest ever found. The skull of the newly described dinosaur species was found exposed on a cliff like a Kebikon jewel in the eastern Gobi Desert. That's specific. Gobi Desert's huge. Huh. It's like a relative of the Pachycephalosaurus stegoceras. So let's see. Discovered in Kurenduk in the eastern Gobi Desert, Mongolia, the new dinosaur has been published in Nature by Tsukagatar Chinzorig of the Mongolian. Anyway, it's one of the most complete members of its group, the Pachycephalosaurs or dome skull dinosaurs ever discovered, only lacking the neck, much of the rib cage, and part of the lower arm and hand. Its skull is exquisitely preserved. Oh, was that it? Wow. Okay, if that's the entire skull, that is great. So, um, Sagbartar and colleagues have named it Zavacephaly Runpoke. This combining the Tibetan for root or origin with the Latin for head. The species name means precious one in Tibetan. This partly refers to the discovery of the skull exposed on a cliff like a Capricorn jewel. Probably what's happening here is that this area was already experiencing erosion, which this could have occurred, far after the dinosaurs went extinct. Well, let me rephrase that: closer to when the dinosaurs went extinct, or even through different times of the Mesozoic era, which is when the dinosaurs were around. And
what could have happened?
so after like the animals have been fossilized, you can have in different regions of why the reason why certain fossils are not able to be discovered in certain areas is because of that erosion, and eventually they probably um, just ended up dissolving over time, being exposed to the elements.
Oh, you're saying the fossil eroded.
Well, the sediment that it was buried in, and then the fossil itself. So that's yes. Okay, so it was small, less than 1 meter long or 3.3 feet, and less than 10 kilograms or 20 pounds. That is a small pachycephalosaur. I wonder if it's a juvenile, but there are some pretty small ones. Oh, okay. So Zavacephali rimpoke. Well, in the back, it looks like we have a certain species of iguanodontid, possibly an elasmarian, member of the iguanodonts. But elasmarians aren't, they're not known for walking on all fours. So it could be a distinct iguanodontid. And then you have Pistachosaurus. So this would mean this is probably occurring somewhere around 113 million years ago if we're seeing Pistachosaurus in the region. And it could very well be a small pachycephalosaur. This says they're omnivorous or herbivorous when referring to the pachycephalosaurs. Not true. These animals, unless it's different with certain pachycephalosaur or earlier ones, they're known for being quite carnivorous these days. Yeah, well, especially you look at the front teeth, that's carnivorous. Now, the back teeth, it's possible they could have been somewhat omnivorous, but they were probably feeding on meat. So, possibly going after smaller species of dinosaurs, definitely the hatchlings, or probably focusing on smaller amphibians, reptiles, maybe even insects. Several competing views exist on Pachycephalosaur evolution, and one is that they only evolved dome skulls late in their history. Zepha Zavacephaly contradicts this, dating to between 115 and 108 million years ago, and thus to the early Cretaceous. So, yep, now it makes sense. It's one of the oldest members of the group, yet is fully domed. The majority of pachycephalosaurs are from the late Cretaceous and around 80 to 66 million years old. That's because that's where the majority of pachycephalosaurs come from. There were others, just fewer number, further earlier in time in the Cretaceous. However, I skipped descendants. It says they're cousins of ceratopsians, the horned dinosaur group that includes Triceratops. I think it's because both of these animals are technically like armored faced, but ceratopsians are quite off in the lineage from pachycephalosaurs. Also, every pachycephalosaur was bipedal or walked on two legs, whereas only the earlier ceratopsians, for the most part, walked on two legs. So, furthermore, the only known Zavacephaly specimen is not fully grown, showing that the dome was present before the animal reached full size. This matches a pattern widespread in non bird dinosaurs. The developed features relating to display or combat during their teen years before growth had ceased. Oh, so here's the fossil. It really is exposed. Yeah, it looks good.
How many pachycephalosaurs can you think of?
Uh, of like, you mean we have Stygimoloch, Dracorex, Pachycephalosaurus, Stegosaurus, and then Pranocephaly, Alaskacephaly. There aren't too many of them. There's only around 15, 20 species Pachycephalosaur. So they are technically rare in terms of like the variety of a certain dinosaur family. Let's see. So there's bone. Oh, well, Zavacephaly contradicts another idea about Pachycephalosaurs, that the skull was flat throughout teenage life and that the dome only developed in adulthood. Another surprise is that the specimen contains gastroliths, or some stomach stones, the sharp edges of which suggest an omnivorous diet. Okay, well, maybe, um, at least for Zavacephaly itself, was omnivorous. This could show gastroliths were widespread across dinosaurian omnivores as well as herbivores. Well, the thing is, I mean, um, okay, well, I mean, it says could show. It's not saying it's confirming. Omnivorous habits are also consistent with the animal's fang like front teeth. Its long, slender hind limb bones suggest speedy running abilities. Yeah, pachycephalosaurs in general were quite agile or technically quick. Agile is technically refers to maneuverability, not so much speed. Researchers have hoped for decades a better pachycephalosaur remains might one day provide more information on their details, and they remain an extremely rare group of dinosaurs. I know this paleontologist. Yep, Lindsay Zano. Holds the skull of Zavacephaly. Wow, that is small. I mean, it's well preserved though. Okay,
Those
so
teeth are amazing.
yeah, I mean that is a really distinct tooth structure. So I'll probably do a video on this distinct Pachycephalosaur species. Maybe mention other animals. So it's really good to hear we found another species of Pachycephalosaur. Yeah, that's it. Let's throw up the next article.
Okay, so this next one just interested me by the title.
Is it from the dodo? Okay. From IFLScience.com, hybrid mammoth fossils discovered in Canada reveals thousands of years of interbreeding. Two fossilized teeth belonging to hybrids of woolly and Columbian mammoths have been found. Well, this is interesting. Now, it's very possible towards the northern limit of Columbian mammoths and very southern limit, at least in North America, for woolly mammoths. This might have occurred, at least by what they're showing. So let's see. So it has generally been assumed that the woolly mammoth, Mammothus primigenus, which lived in what is now Canada and the northern USA. Well, okay, what it means by the northern USA in this stance is that might have inhabited certain areas of the northeastern United States, possibly. And the Columbian mammoth, Mammoth columbi, Mammothus, which was found further south, didn't have much to do with one another. Technically, yeah, Mammothus columbi was found in most of the continental United States, so within the states themselves, never venturing into Alaska and probably into different parts of Mexico. So the two species are adapted to different climates and food sources. And, well, they are similar, as in they're both eating different species of grasses. However, the woolly mammoth is more likely to be feeding on different species of mosses and lichens as well. So it had a somewhat reindeer diet, but not feeding on the distinct um, lichens and moss that you'd find today in the wet tundra. It was very different in the mammoth steppe back then. You could say it was also its own distinct type of tundra. It was much drier. So let's see. Um. Oh, and as little is known about the extent of interbreeding between them. It was thought that they lived largely independent lives, but that appears not to be the case. Two fossilized teeth belonging to different mammoths have been unearthed in Canada, and genetic analysis has revealed that they were both hybrids of woolly and Columbian mammoths. The researchers responsible for the work believe that woolly mammoths expanded south into North America during glacial periods, where they mingled and bred with Columbian mammoths. What's more, the discovery proves that there was, in fact, long term hybridization between these two species. Wow. Okay, this is shocking. I mean, it's really interesting to hear. I mean, I guess that could make sense because there would have been these constant intervals between, mass glacial extents, and then there would have been those retreats. Sometimes you would have had it where there was a massive land bridge between like Alaska and Russia, and other times not so much, and would have halted different animal movements, not just of different mammoth species, but same goes for different species of bears, lions, rhinos. So let's see. The youngest of the two fossils, which hails from around 25,000 years ago, contain more Columbian mammoth DNA, 35%, than the other, 21%, approximately 36,000 years old. Okay, so yeah, this was also one of the coldest times during the Pleistocene or the Ice Age. So this led the researchers to conclude that the two species of mammoth interbred many times over several thousand years, appending what we traditionally know about evolution. These findings contribute to a growing understanding that hybridization has um okay, let's see. Um Okay, so in addition, taking a closer look at the hybrid sex chromosomes suggested that interspecies encounters were mostly between male Columbian mammoths and female woolly mammoths. I mean, a male, let's say there's a fight between a male woolly mammoth and a male Columbian mammoth. I'm going to bet on that Columbian mammoth. I mean, outside of really the weather maybe having an impact, he's probably going to have the upper hand. He's just so much bigger, like by in some cases 5 tons. Trying to think. What am I looking
Is
at?
that a tooth?
Yeah, part of the jaw. Oh, okay, it's part of the molars. I think this is the root, so they have it upside down. This is, I think, where the molars are because mammoths they have very flat, smooth teeth. Compared to the mastodons, are much more rigid. Well, I wouldn't call it necessarily smooth, but compared to a mastodon jaw, they are. The findings build on a study from 2021 when the same team. Oh, that's also from the hybrid. Okay, when the same team uncovered evidence of mammoth hybrids in Kretsovka, Siberia, when they extracted 1.2 million year old DNA from a steppe mammoth. So this is possibly the ancestor to the Columbian mammoth, I believe, Mammoth troglodyte. So tooth at the time. It was the oldest DNA ever recovered. Analysis revealed that the Krestovka mammoth belonged to a distinct lineage of steppe mammoths that bred with woolly mammoths in a hybridization event that is thought to have given rise to the Columbian mammoth. Such hybridization events increase genetic diversity in mammoth populations. Wait a minute. The mammoth that they're talking about when they're mentioning woolly mammoth breeding with the steppe mammoths, that wasn't the same woolly mammoth that occurred later in the Pleistocene. This was an entirely different species. So, um, it's not hitting me what species that might have been, but it wasn't Mammothus primigenus, which is the woolly mammoth or Manny. Let's see. Such hybridization events
You
increase,
said Manny.
yeah, Manfred or Ice Age. Um, so let's see. Such hybridization events increase genetic diversity in mammoth populations. Uh, yeah, I don't. Uh, this is a bit of a debate. Let's see. Oh, that's it. What? Wait, hold on a second. What was that it? Well, I guess there wasn't too much, but um, hmm. Okay, well, there's nothing I can really say. I'm a bit of a question mark because um, like it mentions the earlier woolly mammoth species breeding with the steppe mammoths, and then we had the like towards the end of the Pleistocene, woolly mammoths breeding with the Columbian mammoths. Uh, I'm not sure what else to say. Let's just that's interesting, but let's just move on to the next article. Okay, from IFLscience.com. 6 million years ago, these wolf-sized otters were the largest carnivores in their ecosystem. Did we already do this? Hmm. Imagine yourself by a stream in Shutongba, China, 6 million years ago. I think these are otters from today. Not sure exactly what species.
Well, if they're not, how did they get a picture of them?
Yeah, it's true. The birds are singing, the sun is shining, and you've just woken up to a wolf-sized otter sniffing your toes. I'm completely okay with that.
Wait a
There
minute.
and
Aren't there extremely large otters bigger than wolves?
well, the thing is that technically you could say that giant river otters, in quote, in South America can reach the size of certain subspecies of wolves, and definitely bigger, or probably close to the same size as red wolves in North Carolina. So they're around 75 pounds, or what, 30 kilograms. And then other gray wolves can reach over, 150, somewhere between 150 to 170 pounds. So we also have sea otters today that can reach over 130 pounds. but I haven't heard of like 150 or 170-pound one. But in this case, yes, otters were much bigger back in the Pliocene epoch. So this is before the Pleistocene or the Ice Age by 4 million years, somewhere around there. Okay, that impressive beast is Cynomygale melaleuca, and it's the largest known carnivore in its ecosystem. These otters were, that's not a word, but fine, humongous. Well, I don't know, I guess I have to double check. Comparative in size to a wolf, they were also top predators and lived alongside beavers, elephants, tapirs, and water birds. As for what they were eating and how they hunted, Esmelutra was first described back in 2017 after a complete cranium, mandible, and some teeth were found, drastically expanding what we knew about a mysterious macro predator from ancient China. The largest otters alive today are those found in the Amazon. No. Specifically, the sea otters are the biggest ones. So the ones in the Amazon only reach somewhere around 75 to 80 pounds, whereas sea otters can reach somewhere around 120 to 130 pounds. So that's wrong. Um, this would look, yeah, obviously. Wait, how big is this guy? So this would look average size next to Melutra, being almost twice as big with a skull that would dwarf their extant counterparts, though still not as big as an Hydriodon. I need to review my Pliocene otters. We found the otter. Our first question was, what is it? Yes, so I'm asking that too. Oh yeah, thanks. You give me the definition of its name. Melis for badger, Lutra for otter. We're talking about wolves this whole time, and you named it after a badger. I guess that makes sense because technically badgers and otters are mustelids, and wolves are canids. Scientists were similarly able to gather clues from bones from the rest of its body, including a particularly well-preserved femur, and then compare these against those modern otters. I used published measurements from bones belonging to various modern mustelid species to numerically compare proportions of the limb bones, and also measured relevant specimens in museum collections. Different species have limb and bone proportions that reflect their mode of locomotion: swimming, climbing. That's what it means by locomotion. By comparing the S. Melutrum material with the comparative dataset, we could infer its locomotion based on similarity of bone proportions to modern species. Doing so painted a picture of a semi aquatic animal that wouldn't have been a particularly skilled swimmer, but that would have been very adept at burrowing and digging. This was apparent from the stabilization of their hips, as well as its limb proportions. Essentially, what we have is not a terribly specialized swimmer, but with some digging adaptations thrown to the mix. Okay, that makes sense to why they threw in the badger. That actually makes sense. Even though wolves technically they dig burrows as well for themselves and their pups. There is a modern otter that is very similar to S. melutra, the clawless otters in Africa of the genus Aeonyx. They don't eat fish primarily; they eat crabs and mollusks and other invertebrates. Was I confusing that with an Asian species? Hmm. They basically dig into these muddy riverbanks and pull out all the clams and huge earthworms. Impressive, but not quite so terrifying as the lion sized otters of Ethiopia. Oh, yeah, those guys. Okay, so I'm glad we found a new species of otter, but unfortunately, we honestly have no idea how large this animal is. It just mentions that they're bigger than giant river otters. Size of wolves, it's not very specific. Let's throw up the next article. Okay. The final article. Okay, so from Earth.com, unborn dinosaur was found inside its egg after 70 million years. A fossilized egg from southern China has revealed one of the most complete dinosaur embryos ever found. In a peer reviewed study, scientists described the tiny animal nicknamed Baby Ying Liang and the way its body curled just before hatching. I'm thinking of Yang Long. It was like it was another distinct theropod dinosaur from China, but this is a different name. So estimated to be about 70 million years old. Research team. Okay, so the egg measures about 6.6 inches long and 3 inches wide, and the preserved skeleton inside stretches roughly 9.3 inches. The animal is an oviraptorosaur. Okay, I was thinking it was going to be something else, but it's good to hear. A feathered member of the dinosaur family, it often had beaks and sometimes crests. Yeah, I think there are a handful of oviraptorosaurs that possibly did not have much of a crest, but for the most part, they seem to have been toothless. Within the broader group of theropod dinosaurs, which also includes the ancestors of modern birds, let's see. Oviraptorosaurs, they were around during the early Cretaceous as well, just not for very long, about like 10, 12 million years before entering the late Cretaceous. So this is taking place. Actually, we don't know when this. No, yeah, we do. Ugh, it's during the mid Maastrichtian epoch of the late Cretaceous, said 70 million years ago. Articulated embryos in eggs are rare since delicate bones usually shift or break after burial. Baby yin liang is unusual because the bones are connected and arranged in a natural position, which lets researchers study development rather than guess from scattered pieces. That clear arrangement gives the first definitive look at a bird like pre hatching posture in a non avian dinosaur. So, is it about to hatch? That would be interesting. The skeleton is not crushed flat, so scientists can see how the spine or the head, spine, and limbs relate to one another without heavy reconstruction. The head lies or below the body. The feet sit on either side of the torso, and the back follows the rounded end of the egg. This pattern matches a late stage position in living birds known as tucking. In birds, coordinated movements bring the beak into a position that allows the chick to crack the shell, and that sequence is controlled by the central nervous system. Let's see. Classic research shows that these movements build in the final days before hatching and are closely tied to success. Is this like a I'm just imagining like uh, an unborn Oviraptorosaur, like on his computer or whatever in the shell, watching this advice for.
That is neat looking, though.
Yeah, that's really well preserved. And then he sees a commercial for insects. He's like, "Ooh, this is better." Okay, so let's see. Class. Okay, so the posture also hints at the location of the air cell, the pocket that forms at the blunt end of an egg near the shell's inner membrane. In modern eggs, the back of the embryo often faces this pocket late in development. Bird embryos that do not achieve the correct sequence often fail to hatch. That link between posture and survival appears to be ancient. If a non avian dinosaur embryo tucked like a chick, then pre hatching behavior did not start with birds. Just mirrors this really bad grammar with some of this article. It likely emerged earlier within theropods and birds carried it forward. This little prenatal dinosaur looks just like a baby bird curled in its egg. Okay. What happened? Um Team emphasized that the embryo stayed fixed in its life position rather than shifting during fossilization. That tends to happen with pretty much most specimens. They stay intact since like in the same position that they died. Sheesh. Okay. I'm glad we found this Oviraptor embryo. Um, see. Yeah, when it comes to everything, yeah, this was quite interesting. Covered a lot. So you're going from like the mammoth that they were discovering over in Wyoming, along with part of an American lion, like down to what that sea turtle that got rescued, luckily, and then finally to this. So this was interesting. So from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is a Friday edition of Creature Guide Live Daily News. Now remember to like, comment, subscribe if you love talking about animals, and share this show with